This program is co-sponsored by
Kenstar. State Bank Maestro Debit Card. आपका new cash.
M. Karunanidhi and Jayalalitha declare assets. Karunanidhi's assets are at 41 crore. His Betanoia. Jayalalitha is worth 51 crore rupees. Dissident leaders headed by Ishwarappa meet Arun Jaitley at the Parliament. Arvind Limbavali, C.T. Ravi, Janardhan Reddy, Jagadish Shettar also present. And to relieve students of exam pressure, students being homeschooled, education is not convinced if homeschooling is the right way. China finds 2 Japanese travelers arrive with high radiation levels are the latest consequence of contamination from crippled nuclear plant in Japan. Pressure mounts as New Zealand take on Group B leader South Africa in third quarter-final at Shere Bangla Stadium. Good afternoon, you're watching News 9, you're on the Big Lunch Hour. I'm Nikhil Joshi. Pressure of board exams or exams per se take a toll on students. Every year we see victims of the formal schooling system going through pain. You need not worry any longer because this could be the alternative you were looking for.
This mother, Lakshmi Neelakantan, who was a statistics researcher at the Indian Institute of Statistics, has withdrawn her children from formal school and started homeschooling them 4 months ago. Her 3 children, Prahlad, Siddharth and Kavana, are her students.
A freedom of education, freedom to learn, freedom to think, to be curious. And that is what we are exploring here. Okay. So our emphasis is not on the final result, what they will get in exam. And they're all interested in different things to do.
Her oldest son, Prahlad, is 14 and would have been in 9th standard. There is no pressure of formal education on him. He says he would like to be a writer or a novelist when he grows up.
I like English literature, science and math. When I grow up, I want to be a writer of novels.
The youngest daughter, Kavana, enjoys gardening and looks after animals. Hopefully an environmentalist in the making like Papa Leo Saldana.
I studied at homeschooling for 4 months. Okay. I like to do art and maths.
Second son, Siddharth, is very oriented towards physical activities and enjoys sports and games, perhaps a sportsman in the making.
Homeschooling is better.
Why?
There aren't many distractions, plus you've got more attention from your teacher, which is your mother.
But the educationists are not convinced if homeschooling is the right thing. Father Ambrose Pinto, principal of St. Joseph's College and an educationist, suggests that schools are just not about pressure and learning, but about mixing with others and gearing up to face the real challenges of life.
So I would think it's education within the 4 walls of the house is very limited, restricted, and these children may find it extremely difficult to relate to the outside world and know what are the concerns that exist outside.
Will the homeschooled children miss out, or will they be able to face the challenge called life? Bansi Kalappa, News 9, Bengaluru.
To school or not to school is the big question as well. Also with me in the studio is Kavana, a student of homeschool. Hi Kavana, welcome to News 9. Say hi.
Hi.
Also joining me, Ms. Lakshmi, who is a tutor who also homeschools her children. Siddharth and Prahlad, again students of homeschool, and I have with me Sister Genevieve, who is the former principal of Mount Carmel College, also the Secretary of Education across all Catholic schools in Karnataka. Thank you all for joining me in the studio. First of all, my word from Ms. Lakshmi. You've educated yourself in Canada. You've done your PhD from Minnesota, as I've been told. Why would you not choose to send your children to regular school? Why would you speak for homeschooling?
Several reasons. One is the pressure children are put through in schools with respect to exams, peer pressure, and just trying to conform in society. The pressure there has driven many children to suicide in India, that we know. So to avoid all that, and moreover that children need not be forced into one particular way of learning, that they do have the freedom to think for themselves, to ask questions without fear of authority. And that sort of freedom is what I'm looking at.
All right. Sister Genevieve, is this right? Is this all right? Homeschooling. What's your take on it?
I quite disagree with this idea. I feel they need to go to school because school is a unit of society. It's true, family also is one, but school is a larger unit, and you need social development for the children. You learn team spirit, cooperation, loyalties, leadership. There's a lot of give and take between the children. They establish rapport. They know to face defeat in a playground, in a school, for instance. And they're able to cope with pressure more in a school when they work in a team than if they're isolated and brought up as individuals in the home.
Right. Before we go ahead, let me also ask you the big question. With homeschooling gaining popularity, is it right to deprive the child of a school environment? Share your views with News9. You could call us on the numbers that are flashing on your screen. You could SMS us at 56006890 as well. Coming to you, Kavna, what do you study, Kavna? What do you study?
English, maths, science, art, cooking and...
Cooking? Okay. What can you cook, Kavna? What can you make? Okay, Kavna is shy. So perhaps this is one of the options that you wouldn't find in a school if a kid wants to learn to cook. That possibly wouldn't happen in a school environment. What do you do, Siddharth? Siddharth, what do you study?
Me, I study most of the sciences, then maths, English, literature, yeah, art, that's it.
What do you do, Prahlad?
I study the sciences, math, English, English literature, and history, geography.
But as I sit here, there's a sense that I get from the kids here that they aren't really open. Would you agree that perhaps their presence in a school among people and a bigger way of interaction with people would have worked in favor? Would you agree? Would you agree with that?
No, they are quite open.
All right.
Now I guess they're shy. They're in a TV studio.
Sure,
it's natural. I'm also like that. And I did go to a regular school. But as far as social interaction goes, it's not like homeschooling is restricted to the home.
Okay.
I mean, that's the term we use. But homeschooling, as I say it, is that the parents take responsibility for raising their children.
Sure.
And not raising them in isolation. That I would have to disagree with sister. It's not in isolation.
Okay.
They do play with other children, games, sports are there.
It's not just not the games and sports.
It's also that they are quite active in civil society also. I mean, for example, they have been active participants in demonstrations against, the rampant tree cutting, privatization of water, privatization of lakes. These are all issues that they're living with. They're not at all restricted to inside.
So probably they are well exposed and well informed towards the issues that concern us today. But again, interaction doesn't really come in a playground. Interaction doesn't really happen in the confines of a house. Perhaps the classroom interaction is way different than how it used to be at your time, perhaps how it used to be at my time. And those formative years of school, that's how they define it. Formative years of school, it becomes essential to know to talk to people, to be among people and be confident of being among people and be all right of being among people. Do you think these kids are deprived of that? Just around 3 hours in the evening is what I expect they get as playtime, because the rest of the kids, the larger population of the kids, would be attending schools.
They do have all the holidays which the other kids have. I mean, as far as going and sitting in a classroom, I mean, I've also taught in schools. And there is a lot of distraction, which is not so much at home.
Okay.
So they learn a lot faster at home. They get individual attention. They are free to express, and there's no fear in them that someone is going to point at them and say, you're not as good as me.
Okay.
I mean, that comes up in school, those sort of comparisons.
Right.
And this entire schooling system here is designed that way, that you have children, the A graders, different from the Bs and Cs. And I know of cases where schools, they try to wean out the students who are not performing as well as they want, just to keep
Sister,
up.
do you want to take on that point? She says the comparison is not good. I agree comparison is not good, but isn't that what instills the sense of competition? Isn't that what perhaps forces you to do better the next day? This is probably too young an age to be talking about that. Going ahead, at Prahalad's age, he's getting into his 9th standard, syllabus-wise at least. He's being homeschooled, but he's taking up the syllabus of 9th standard, more or less, you were telling me. So at an age like that, it is important to have that spirit of competition. Sister?
They just keep talking about, I'm studying this and I'm studying this. But there's a whole lot of things to education. It's quality, it's refined manners, social relationship, interpersonal give and take, and all that is included in this education, which I feel may be sadly lacking in these children if it's just confined to a few hours of play in the evening. Whereas in a school, it's more interactive. There are schools and schools, and nowadays, you know, you don't call them brilliant if they are good only in alphabets or numericals. We have what is called multiple intelligence, and children are channelized. Depends on the school which you send the children to, and accordingly they are graded. And it's more for cooperation than for competition nowadays. We have to make a shift in education system from competence to cooperation. So you're good in mathematics, you teach your younger brother, you teach your peer group members maths, and they entertain you for the sing of music or a game of chess or whatever it is.
All right. I was reading through a few of the reports that have come about in the recent past, and one of the reports said the consent of the child is equally important. And I was just left with a question. At an age of, let's say, 8 or 9, what kind of a consent do you expect from the kid? You're giving an option to the kid of not going to school. If I were to be there, I would obviously choose it. I don't want to go to school. That's how it would have been. Do you like doing homeschooling? Prahlad, let me ask you, how easy is it to be homeschooled rather than attending a normal school?
I like homeschooling.
Okay.
There's a lot more freedom. My mother lets me take up my interests. She gives me 1 hour every morning. I like writing stories, so she allows me that.
Okay.
And if any of our friends are there, she allows us to play with them.
Okay. Do you miss going to school? Do you miss hanging out with friends?